The town of Hamelin, once a prosperous and bustling village, had a secret, a darkness buried deep in its past that only a few old souls whispered about behind closed doors. Hamelin's cobbled streets, grand bell tower, and flourishing market gave it an air of wealth and happiness. But for those who lived there, the recent plague had revealed cracks in the town's perfect image. It all started with the rats. At first, it was just a few, scurrying through the alleys, nibbling at forgotten scraps. No one paid them much mind, but soon their numbers grew, multiplying at a terrifying pace. The rats were everywhere, in the homes, gnawing through grain sacks, fouling water barrels, and spreading sickness. It became impossible to go anywhere in Hamelin without encountering the rodents, and the people grew desperate. The mayor, a rotund man with a large house on the hill, called frequent meetings to address the rat crisis, but nothing worked. Every day, more and more rats appeared, slipping through cracks in walls, multiplying in the dark corners of the town. Fear began to grip the people. The whispers started soon after, the ones that spoke of Hamelin's hidden sins. Some villagers, especially the elders, began muttering about a curse. They recalled stories of a time long ago when Hamelin had wronged someone. Though who or what, no one could remember clearly. But most ignored these old tales. It was easier to believe that this was just a freak invasion of rodents, an anomaly that would pass. But the rats didn't leave. One morning, a thick fog rolled in from the river. The air was damp and still, and an unnatural silence fell over the town. That was when he appeared. A figure cloaked in a long dark coat, with a wide-brimmed hat casting his face in shadow. His arrival was quiet. No one saw him enter, yet suddenly he stood in the town square, his pipe resting at his lips. He was a stranger to Hamelin, yet his presence commanded attention. His eyes, sharp and cold, gleamed from beneath his hat as he spoke. "I hear you have a problem," the man said, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "Rats. Everywhere." The mayor, hearing of the stranger's claim, hurried down to meet him, sweating profusely in his fine clothes. The man extended his hand, the slender pipe dangling from his fingers. "I can rid you of your plague," the piper said, "for a price." Desperation had clouded the mayor's judgment. He agreed to the piper's terms without question, offering a reward of 1,000 gold coins for the piper's help. The townsfolk gathered around, unsure of this stranger, but they had no other option. With no delay, the piper began his work. That night, under the glow of a sickly red moon, the piper raised his pipe to his lips. The melody he played was haunting, echoing through the streets like a whisper carried on the wind. The rats responded immediately, emerging from their nests and holes as if under a spell. Thousands of them poured out of the alleys, scurrying over cobblestones, following the piper's eerie tune. The villagers watched in awe as the piper led the rats out of the town and toward the river. One by one, the creatures plunged into the cold water, disappearing beneath the surface without a sound. By dawn, the town was free of the rats, and the people rejoiced. But when the piper returned to collect his payment, the mood shifted. The mayor, now seeing the problem solved, grew smug. 1,000 gold coins, you say? He laughed. Surely the task was not worth such a sum. 50 coins will suffice. The piper's eyes narrowed. A deal was made, he said, his voice now low and dangerous. You would do well to honor it. But the mayor and council members only sneered. You'll take what we give you, stranger, and be on your way." The piper said nothing more. He simply picked up the small pouch of coins the mayor tossed at his feet and left the town square, his dark figure vanishing into the fog as silently as he had arrived. That night, a different tune filled the streets of Hamelin. It began softly, almost like a lullaby, floating on the air as the villagers lay in their beds. But soon it grew louder, more insistent. Those who heard it felt a chill run down their spines. And then came the footsteps, the sound of hundreds of tiny feet pattering through the streets. The children, the parents awoke to find their beds empty. Their children, once safe and sound, were gone. Desperate cries echoed through the night as families searched frantically for their sons and daughters. But the children were nowhere to be found. The next morning, panic gripped the town. The mayor, now frantic, sent search parties into the woods, along the riverbanks, and even into the deep caves near the mountains. Days passed, but no trace of the children was found. The villagers, desperate for answers, began to remember the piper's warning. The elders who had whispered of the town's hidden sins began to speak up again, reminding everyone of the ancient curse they had forgotten. But it was too late. 1 week later, as the town was on the verge of collapse, the children began to return. But something was terribly wrong. They came back in groups, wandering the streets aimlessly, their once bright eyes now dull and lifeless. They did not speak. They did not respond to their parents' tearful embraces. They simply walked, as if trapped in some waking nightmare. The townsfolk, horrified, could do nothing but watch. Some tried to shake their children awake from this unnatural state, but nothing worked. The mayor, racked with guilt, tried to summon the piper again, offering him all the gold in the town's coffers. But the piper did not come. Days turned into weeks, and the children's condition worsened. They grew pale and gaunt, moving with jerky, mechanical motions. It was as though they were marionettes, their strings pulled by an unseen force. The mayor, now desperate, began to search through the town's oldest records, hoping to uncover anything that could explain the curse that had befallen them. What he found was worse than he had ever imagined. Centuries ago, Hamelin had been ruled by a cruel and corrupt council. The piper, it seemed, was once a man from the town, a father who had lost his own daughter in a sinister scheme carried out by the very same leaders. In an attempt to cover up their crimes, the council had driven the man away, leaving him broken and filled with a thirst for revenge. The piper had turned to dark magic in his grief, learning the forbidden art of controlling souls through music. He had returned to Hamelin, not just for payment, but to exact his final revenge on the bloodlines that had wronged him. As the mayor pieced together the truth, the town fell further into chaos. The children, now hollow shells of their former selves, roamed the streets like lost souls. Their presence became a constant reminder of the piper's curse, a living nightmare that Hamelin could not escape. On the 13th anniversary of the children's disappearance, the bell tower rang once more. A child was born in Hamelin, a girl bright and full of life. For the first time in years, the town felt a flicker of hope. But on her 13th birthday, the girl vanished just as the others had. In her place, a single note was left. The price is never fully paid. The mayor, now an old man, realized too late that the piper's curse was not just about the rats. It was about the sins of the past, and those sins would continue to haunt the town for generations. Then came the final twist. As the townspeople searched through the Piper's old home, they discovered something chilling. A dusty portrait of a young girl, the Piper's lost daughter, and beside it, a birth certificate. The name of the mother, the mayor's ancestor. It wasn't just a curse on the town. It was a curse on the mayor's bloodline. His family had been the ones who took the Piper's daughter all those years ago, leading to the chain of events that had brought Hamelin to its knees. The mayor's line had been doomed from the start. The Piper had waited, watching as each generation of the mayor's family lived, thrived, and then paid the ultimate price, one child at a time. The Piper's revenge wasn't just about broken promises, it was about broken bloodlines. And so, Hamelin's fate was sealed. The Piper's haunting melody would echo through the town forever, claiming its children, one by one, until the sins of the past were finally paid for in full. Thank you for joining us in the world of Twilight Fables. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.